Hello, all you freedom-loving people. The House is now to pass the package to reopen the government, which has a surprising provision letting senators sue the government over Jack Smith's probe. SCOTUS will decide on mail-in ballots, and reportedly new documents emerged about the Clinton Foundation. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, before we start, I'd first like to wish a happy Veterans Day to all who serve. Because of your strength and courage, America stands safe, strong, and free, and soon the government will even reopen. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history finally took a turn for good last night on the 40th day. Senate Majority Leader John Thune initiated a process of up to 9 consecutive votes, and he finally approved a legislative package to fund the government through January 2026 and to provide full-year funding for key programs such as SNAP and WIC. Yesterday, we mentioned that the package also included a short-term funding bill and a 3-part minibus plan. It reverses recent federal layoffs, and it protects workers from further layoffs through January. Also, as part of the package, the Senate will vote on the ACA subsidies in December. The bill will now head to the House, which is currently out of office. Speaker Johnson said that he would bring the House back into session immediately, and he expects to pass the bill as soon as tomorrow. If passed by the House, the legislation will be sent to President Trump's desk for a final signature to end the longest government shutdown in history. During a meeting at the Oval Office yesterday, President Trump also indicated support for the package.
Senators that are here, Mr. President, do you personally approve of the deal that's happening right now in Capitol Hill to end the government?
Well, it depends what deal we're talking about. But if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, they want to change the deal a little bit. But I would say so. I think based on everything I'm hearing, they haven't changed anything. And we have support from enough Democrats. And we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
And today, speaking at Arlington National Cemetery to honor veterans, President Trump also congratulated Speaker Johnson and John Thune for their role in reopening the government.
And we're also honored to be joined by a great man. He will go down as a great man someday, Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker, wherever you may be, Speaker. We love you, Speaker. There he is, right there. Good. Got a good location. He always gets a good location. And congratulations to you and to John and to everybody on a very big victory. We're opening up our country.
Political observers generally believe that although the government shutdown ended in compromise, the outcome was politically favorable to the Trump administration. Not only did he hold the line on maintaining a tough immigration policy, he also succeeded in forcing the Democratic Party to fracture internally and frustrate its leadership. But despite achieving the goal of potentially ending the shutdown, the deal sparked a heated debate within the Democratic Party. Many party members were disappointed by the lack of provisions to extend ACA subsidies. The 8 centrist Democrats who voted with Senate Republicans said that they decided to support the Republicans because they believe that because of President Trump's firm stance, there was no chance of achieving a policy victory on health care. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, though he did not vote for the final deal, has come under intense criticism from left-wingers in the Democratic Party for allowing centrists to support it. At present, the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives refused to make any concessions. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has publicly expressed his opposition to the deal. He said at the Capitol, "We're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people." He said that the push to extend the ACA subsidies will continue. He added, "We will sit down with any Republican anytime, any place, anywhere in order to find a bipartisan path forward." The government funding package that was approved by the Senate contains a surprising provision. It includes a provision that could grant some senators millions of dollars in compensation over former special counsel Jack Smith's access to their phone records. Under the new package, the government would no longer be shielded by sovereign immunity in cases that involve Senate data, which will allow lawmakers to sue over unlawful access. The package stated in part that Any senator whose official Senate data or data from their office was obtained, searched, or disclosed illegally by government officials or agencies has the right to file a civil lawsuit against the United States. Senators can file a civil lawsuit within 5 years of being notified that a violation occurred. And under the proposal, any senator who proves their claim could collect $500,000 for each violation or the full amount of their actual damages, whichever is greater. They would also be able to recover attorney fees and litigation costs. But still, there are limits. If a senator was under criminal investigation when the data were collected. We previously reported that Senator Chuck Grassley released documents from the Arctic Frost investigation showing that Jack Smith obtained the phone records of Republican lawmakers. Smith used the data in his investigation into the 2020 presidential election, as stated in his final report. During a public appearance at the UCL Global Center for Democratic Constitutionalism, Smith said that approval was required from the Department of Justice before subpoenaing the records of a member of Congress. Smith said, "I can't just do what I want." The fallout from Smith's investigation appears to ripple beyond the Senate and Congress. The Arctic Frost investigation is now back in the spotlight with new evidence expected to surface. Today, Just the News reported that AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel expect new evidence to be released this week in the Arctic Frost investigation. The report also said that Bondi and Patel have submitted a new cache of documents to Congress allegedly showing how the Clinton Foundation took donations from foreign and domestic interests and how this information was withheld from a 2015 investigation into pay-to-play allegations. The documents submitted to the Senate Judiciary Committee in recent days revealed a number of foreigners and even a U.S. defense contractor who attempted to form ties with the Clintons by donating to their charity when Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State. The report also quoted officials who said some of the evidence was flagged by whistleblowers, alleging such evidence was kept from a corruption investigation. That investigation was conducted in 2015 by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Arkansas. And withholding the evidence apparently happened before the investigation was shut down by the Justice Department of the Obama administration. Officials said that the new documents would detail how lower-level FBI agents and prosecutors kept information from reaching decision-makers in the various probes of the Clinton Foundation. Officials also said that Bondi and Patel hope to make the documents public as soon as the end of this week after they work through some issues related to safeguarding whistleblower identities. Since the government shutdown, more and more air traffic controllers have opted to retire. To make the situation worse, the rate of sick leave taken by non-retired air traffic controllers has risen sharply. The Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, is currently 1,000 to 2,000 air traffic controllers short of its normal establishment. Staffing shortages have caused delays at major travel hubs, and flight reductions by the FAA at 40 airports have further worsened the situation. On Sunday, more than 10,000 flights were delayed, and thousands more were canceled in the United States in a single day. And the bitterly cold Arctic air that swept across much of the country yesterday aggravated the traffic congestion at airports. Yesterday, we mentioned that President Trump urged absent air traffic controllers during the shutdown to return to duty immediately. He also proposed a $10,000 bonus for those who have stayed on at the job. And during a meeting at the Oval Office yesterday, President Trump also suggested that air travel will be much better than normal because the administration is buying new technology for the control towers.
We're buying the most sophisticated avionics and, technology for our control towers. We are now in the process, we're in final bids of getting the finest system anywhere in the world. I've analyzed it. Sean Duffy has been working really hard on it, doing a fantastic job, by the way. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be handing out the finest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. All the towers will be equipped.
Nick Daniels, the head of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association Union, said in response, "I'll take anything that recognizes these hard-working men and women, but we'll work with the administration on any issue that are out there." Daniels also said, "Air traffic controllers have continued to show up during this shutdown. Every single day, they absolutely not only deserve their pay, they deserve to be recognized for what's going on." The Supreme Court announced on Monday that it will hear a case on whether or not mail-in ballots are valid. The focus will be on whether states have the right to count mail-in ballots that are delivered after Election Day. The case arose out of a Mississippi election law. The law allows mail-in ballots mailed on or before Election Day and delivered within 5 days to be counted. This provision was first temporarily adopted during the 2020 COVID-19 outbreak election, and it has since been formalized into state law. In January of 2024, the Republican National Committee, the RNC, the Mississippi Republican Party, and some of the party's election officials filed a joint lawsuit alleging that the ordinance violated Article 1, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, the Elections Clause. This clause gives Congress the authority to determine the time, place, and manner of federal elections. Plaintiffs assert that Mississippi's provision essentially extends the voting period and is inconsistent with the Federal Election Day Act enacted in 1845. The act stipulated that national federal elections should be held on the Tuesday following the first Monday in November. The plaintiffs emphasize that the delay in receiving ballots dilutes the weight of on-time voters. And they emphasize that mail-in ballots tend to favor Democratic voters. According to statistics, Democratic mail-in voter turnout in the 2022 midterm elections was 46%, which was much higher than the Republican rate of 27%. But the state of Mississippi argues that the law does not violate federal requirements because the act of voting occurs at the moment a voter mails in his or her ballot, not at the moment of counting. As long as a voter completes his or her ballot before Election Day, he or she has voted on the day. Lower courts were divided in their rulings on the case. In July of 2024, Mississippi Federal District Court Judge Louis Garola Jr. sided with the state's position that states had the right to determine the time limits for receiving and counting vote-by-mail ballots in the absence of an express prohibition under federal law. However, a three-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the ruling. In his ruling, presiding Judge Andrew S. Oldman criticized the state's argument as absurd. He pointed out that as long as the ballots were still being received, the election was still in progress. Therefore, ballots delivered after Election Day should not be counted. The decision in this case will not only affect Mississippi, but will have an impact on the national electorate. More than a dozen states, including California, North Carolina, and Washington, D.C., currently allow mail-in ballots to be received after Election Day. If the Supreme Court ultimately upholds the Republican position, then these states could be forced to revise their election procedures. Billionaire Barry Sternlicht is contemplating relocating his firm due to Mayor Mamdani's election. Sternlicht is the CEO of the global investment firm Starwood Capital Group, which is one of the world's largest real estate investment firms with $115 billion in gross asset under management. He warned that Mamdani's policies would embolden tenants to stop paying rent and turn New York City into Mumbai. During his campaign, Mamdani pledged, in addition to a rent freeze, to strengthen tenant protections and extend the time it takes to process evictions. In a conversation with CNBC, Sternlicht said, "The far left gets really nuts and says the tenants don't have to pay. Well, you can't kick them out if they don't pay." He claimed that such an attitude would create a ripple effect. He said, "So the neighbor finds out the neighbor isn't paying, and they don't pay, and the next guy doesn't pay, and then you're basically going to turn New York City into Mumbai." One of the main reasons for the high cost of developing and managing real estate in New York City, he said, is the union system. Sternlicht said, over $100 million. Every project in New York has to go through union, and it's super expensive. It leads to extremely expensive housing. That's one of the key reasons the blue states are so expensive and they're so difficult to add a supply of housing to. He pointed out that if Mamdani freezes the rents of rent-stabilized apartments, there could be a vicious cycle of landlords shying away from investing, tenants defaulting on rents, and the overall supply shrinking. Regarding public safety, Sternlicht further warned that if the mayor weakens the policing system, it will be the #1 problem New York City will face. He said if people feel their kids aren't safe on the streets, they will pull them out of school and they will leave. And if he defunds the police or he doesn't give them the honor and prestige they deserve, I think the city is in for a really tough time. Sternlicht revealed that his firm is considering leaving its Midtown Manhattan office, citing his concern about the hatred of the rich and the socialist ideology that Mamdani represents. He said, "We have a big office here ourselves in New York. I mean, we'll see how this works, but the team in New York is for the first time saying maybe we should leave." Sternlicht also said bluntly, maybe the millions of people that voted for him don't realize that socialism has never worked anywhere on the planet Earth ever. European countries have been thrown into disarray by the recent discovery that manufacturers of Chinese-made electric buses, which have a firm grip on the European electric bus market, have remote access to their vehicles. The story was revealed by the Financial Times. The media outlet reported that the UK's Transport Authority is working with the National Cybersecurity Centre to investigate whether Yutong, a Chinese electric bus manufacturer, had remote access to the control systems of the vehicles that it delivered. Yutong has supplied around 700 buses to the UK market. These buses are currently operating in Nottingham, South Wales, and Glasgow. The investigation was prompted by the discovery of security vulnerabilities in Chinese-made electric buses in Northern Europe. On October 28th, Ruter, Norway's largest public transport operator, announced the result of a security inspection of Chinese-made Yutong electric buses and Dutch-made VDL electric buses. It was found that the Yutong buses were equipped with Romanian SIM cards, whereas the VDL buses had no such issues. According to Ruter, Yutong has the authority to remotely upgrade the electric bus software via the SIM cards, potentially accessing the battery and power control systems. That means that theoretically the manufacturer could make the buses out of service or unable to start. And this loophole in electric buses is becoming a politically sensitive matter amid tensions between the UK and China. Yutong is headquartered in Zhengzhou City, Henan Province, China. It currently exports 110,000 vehicles to more than 60 countries around the world. According to the Italian media Sustainable Bus, Yutong currently holds the first place in the European electric bus market with a 16% share. Norway has the highest percentage. Of the approximately 1,300 electric buses in operation in Norway, 850 are Yutong buses, which is a market share of more than 65%. Movia, which is Denmark's largest transportation company, has also been notified by the Danish Civil Defense Council and the Emergency Management Agency that Yutong electric buses may have been remotely operated, and they are investigating security vulnerabilities in Yutong buses. However, Movia said that the problem is not limited to Chinese-made buses, but is a common problem with many electric vehicles, including Western-made electric vehicles that support remote software upgrades. Yutong explained through the UK's Sunday Times that there's no such thing as remote manipulation as feared. The company claims that Yutong vehicles strictly comply with relevant laws, regulations, and industry standards in the region where the vehicles operate. The data collected is only used for vehicle maintenance and warranty optimization, improvement, and other purposes, and is protected through measures such as storage encryption and access control. And no one can access or check the above data without the customer's permission. However, these are one-sided statements by the Chinese government, the credibility of which is questionable. Does anyone really believe that no one can access or view the data without the customer's permission? If so, how do you explain the occurrence of the hacking? And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after subscribing. And please share this video with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth.